A very good morning, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Africa and Beyond the Television Network. And this morning, we need to take a look onto the reasons why President Nelson Chamisa didn't go to the Constitutional Court. Judging from the previous elections of 2018, something happened in the court of law. There was evidence, overwhelming evidence, which was submitted before the courts, which was meant to cause the courts to call for another election so that things will be done correctly. Or the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission was simply supposed to give the actual result of the 2018 election, but that didn't happen. This time around 2023, the same person who was promoted by bogus laws which were created for him after he was supposed to leave the bench was supposed to be the same person to preside over this year's election challenge. The same person who gave a bogus verdict in 2018 was supposed to preside over and give another verdict. Was he going to give a better verdict? No. So something being raised here is very important, and we need to take a look. Tinio says, in a historic and well-argued presidential election court challenge, Advocate Fulcrum clearly argued and presented that ZEC had 16 polling stations with exactly the same result for both Nelson Chamisa and E.D. Mnangagwa. ZEC admitted that it did happen. And, ZEC did not deny this fact. They confirmed it was so. Much to the shock of the learned jury panel, everybody agreed that this was something which was wrong. And furthermore, ZEC lawyer argued that people can behave in such a way. This was a defense from a lawyer who had nothing else to say. Just on admission, any judge must have made a decision that surely that is not practical, and hence the election was a fraud with manipulated results. So based on that, the jury failed to stand as a credible and fair bench, ignoring such screaming facts, and eventually ruled against the applicant, and it was a tragedy. The same man that led the bench, who must have retired, got a constitutional amendment to extend his term just for another election dispute, approaching the same jury with the fresh electoral evidence was going to be insanity. And I now understand the reason why Advocate Nelson Chamisa didn't even bother to go to the Constitutional Court. Imagine Nelson Chamisa needed 39,000 votes for the 2018 election to be nullified. 69,000 votes were clearly manipulated in favor of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and it was proven in court. But what did the juries do? They declared, or they dismissed the application and declared President Emmerson Mnangagwa the winner. Let us take a look onto this video so that we clearly understand what happened during that period of time.
By the ZBC. It does two things. Number one, it mentions figures. Number two, it attributes those figures to a ZEC official. It says by 5:30 p.m., 105,000 people had voted in Mashonaland Central. The final figure that one gets from ZEC is that an hour and 30 minutes later, plus 370,000 people voted. Is it humanly possible? But it doesn't end there. Then there is the issue of identical polling results. There are at least 16 polling stations with identical results. Identical results for Chamisa, identical results for Mnangagwa, identical spoiled votes. And in all those places, Mnangagwa not only wins, but wins big. It's like a kid was playing with the figures. That, with respect, is not how an election is conducted.
We'll now give the opportunity to Mr. Kanengoni.
The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission cannot be taken to task to say, why is the voter turnout in March Central at this particular level and not at that particular level? Voters behave the way they do. No one knows why. Maybe behavioral scientists may be able to answer the question if they study it.
Mr. Kanengoni, there's the averment that several polling stations showed identical results.
And the simple point we make is that there's no need to be theoretical about it. We have the returns. This is something that happened. We show you the returns. And we've put the returns for 2 of those polling stations here to illustrate the point.
You say it happened?
Yes.
But in his presentation, Pofu said it's actually 16 polling stations where the identical results. You heard it?
Yes, we did. Even in the affidavit, they put a bit more of the polling stations there. But we chose this to illustrate to the court. But for the rest, it did happen. It did actually occur.
We'll now go back to the applicant. I'm interested in knowing why the ballot boxes, which are still sealed, why did the applicant not seek to have those boxes opened up?
Because there's been a massive cover-up. There's been a massive doctoring of that evidence. So that is what I want to establish. Now, why do we have...
Mr. Mpofu, perhaps you may not be understanding me properly. Why go for speculative conclusions of manipulation?
I'm clear on His Lordship's question.
Yes.
I'm very, very clear, my Lord. The point that I wish to make is that this is evidence of manipulation by ZEC after the process. Now, with this evidence of manipulation after the process, if you go to what they call the primary data, you're going to see manipulated data. So the applicant cannot ask a court to open residue which has already been manipulated. If you go to the residue, you drink from a poisoned well. When you look at the figures, let's look at those that have been admitted by ZEC. Let's look at the parliamentary tally. When we show that 40,000 people are said to have voted in the presidential election and not in the primary election, and ZEC does not have returns which show that there were people who simply chose to vote in the presidential election, that is the end. Fortunately, they took away my phone. I wanted to just do a quick calculation, but it is, let me just do a quick calculation. It's around 69,000 votes, which have nothing to do with the residue. So, my lords, my ladies, on the figures that are purely arithmetic, we have 69,000 under circumstances where we require 31,000 to establish that first respondent did not win this election. And on that basis, a runoff is unavoidable.
Thank you, Mr. Pofu, for having taken us through these issues very well argued. We do appreciate your assistance.
So even Chief Justice Malaba admitted that he argued very well. 69,000 votes were manipulated, and ZEC couldn't even prove how these people voted. Because remember, when we are in a harmonized election, you vote for the councillor, you vote for the MP, you vote for the president. If you opt to vote only for the president, you fill in a form, which means we were supposed to have 69,000 forms representing that people chose to vote for the president only and not for the MP and the councillor. That evidence was not there. ZEC failed to produce that evidence. Based on that alone, this election of 2018 was supposed to be nullified. Based on that alone, the 2018 election was supposed to be nullified. But they decided to uphold that election. They decided to declare President Emmerson Mnangagwa as the president. And this time around, you find it difficult for any reasonable man to actually approach the same court, which shows that somebody elsewhere will write the verdict, which shows that somebody elsewhere will originate the verdict on behalf of the courts. So, Team Zimbabwe, to those who are saying Nelson Chamisa would have done A, B, C, D, you need to understand that there was no need to actually approach the courts. So sometimes when you are enlightened about these issues, you start to see in a different direction. You start to see that sometimes when leaders make decisions, they make well-informed decisions. And that is the reason why Advocate Nelson Chamisa is calling for a political settlement so that these issues are resolved once and for all. And the elections in Zimbabwe are not disputed at any point in time